Okay, part number 5 is obviously the most complicated part and has a lot of things that we should be thinking about when we're dimensioning it. First thing, holes and center points we usually measure on center. So they usually do get chained together, measured on center. So we do need to use the center point tool that I selected up here and mark the centers of our circular features. Now, the rounds on this outside, that's small relative to the size of the shape. So I'm not going to I'm not going to put a center point there, but the fillets, these fillets here are large enough that we are going to want to dimension those, so I did add the center points there. The other thing is circular features. Even though I prefer baseline dimensioning, circular features usually get chained together with also the understanding that we want to put full size limits on things. So that would mean that, when I dimension these holes in the position of the holes, I'm going to go ahead and chain those together. I'll do the same thing coming across. Whoops. Let me try that again. So continue, pull it down, create those. I'll do the same thing going back to front. Okay, what else? I'll do the same thing for these center points. And I still want full width, full height, full depth. So I'm going to go ahead and put full width across the bottom edge. That makes that easy to read. I'm going to go ahead and put full depth on the side view. Again, I'm choosing to put that there because that makes it simple to read. Now, full height. Here's where there's a slight difference in how you dimension something with a major circular feature. I do not want to dimension the full height to the top of the circle. I want the dimension, and this probably has to do with the function of the part as well. I want the dimension to go to the center of the circular feature. So when I put on my height dimension, that gives me a height of 2.25. Okay, and I'm not too worried, I'm not concerned that I don't know the full height, because as soon as I put my circular feature on there, as soon as I click the circle, it gives me the diameter. So therefore, if the diameter of that circular feature is an inch, all I would have to do is add a 0.5 to my 2 1/4, and I know that my full height is 2.75 inches. Now, when you put a circular feature on there, okay, I'm going to click and pull out. You'll notice that it kind of snaps into place at multiples of 15 degrees. So you want to place it in a place that looks good, makes it easy to read. Don't pull it way out here or something like this. But since I've only got one circular feature there, I'm going to pull that out to that side, or I could even go around to the other side at 45 degrees. Okay. Now, the arcs on the bottom, you know, if I point at an arc and pull that arc out, okay, again, it'll pop into place at 45 degrees. One thing you would want to do, especially on this one, there are two arcs that are the same. So rather than dimension both of them, to my text, I would put a 2x. And that's just telling us we have two arcs that are the same, rather than put a second dimension that's the same over here. I would do the same thing, or could do the same thing with my little fillet here. That's a radius of 0.25. The other thing you can do, especially when it's a very small feature or there might be a lot of them, you can do TYP, which stands for typical. So I could put a 2x quantity on that, or I could just do TYP that would tell me both of those that look that size are that size. Let's see, what else do we need? The other things we need, oh, I missed centerline bisectors. Okay, my side views of my holes, here's the bisector tool, get centerline bisectors, so I just have to click the two lines on all my side views, and that will throw the bisectors in there. And that center line also signifies from a side view that the feature you're looking at is a round hole and not a square hole. So there are centerline bisectors that go in on all views. And now let's see what else we have. So we've got widths, 1, 2, 3 width features. And the fact that those center points line up with the side, and the fact that this is a 1-inch radius and it looks to be tangent, we can assume that it is, so we don't need to put a dimension on this width here. That would be over dimensioning it. What else do we have? So our widths are good. We have 3 different height features because they share the same center point. We have 3 different depth features. So we have these 2 depths up top chained together, the full depth on the side view. Oh, we have the holes. So with the holes, there is a hole note tool, and you will want to use that. So if we point at the hole, and now we'll find out if you built your part right. Sometimes if you drill a hole as doing an extrusion instead of drilling the hole, it won't recognize it as a hole. So when it is a hole, make sure you do it as a, and if it's a through hole, always drill it as a through hole. So we have the 1/2-inch through hole. We also have these holes up top, and we always dimension the hole from the view that shows it as a circular feature. Now when I create this one, that's a 1/2-inch through hole, but there's 2 of them, so I would want to add a quantity note to that. Now what you could do, I just double click to edit the hole note. What you could do is type the note, but if there's a bunch of them and you don't want to count it, we could add the quantity note, but you also have to edit the quantity note, and we would want to do the number of like holes in that view. That's what you would need to select it to. This top one here would be the number of holes in a pattern or feature. That's not going to work unless you have a pattern. So unless you have a pattern of holes, that wouldn't work. So we're going to do number of like holes in view, say OK, and we change that, and you'll notice that added the 0.5 through 2 times. If you're getting a depth dimension, then when you built your part, sometimes people drill it through and say, hey, I want to drill it a ½ inch through 2 inches deep. I know that's going to blow through the bottom. Well, if it's sometimes when you build it that way, Inventor will recognize that number, and instead of saying through, we'll give you a depth of 2 inches or whatever number you put. Or even if you put your depth of a ½ inch, when it's a through hole, it should be dimensioned as a through hole. If that's the case, when you have the word through, if you have your depth symbol there, make sure you change that and manually make it to be a through hole. So this is something to learn as you go forwards. If it's a through hole, drill it as a through hole. If it's got a certain depth, then of course you put that depth in there. So now part number 5 is also fully dimensioned.